It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Yitro, direct communication. If we look in Parshat Yitro, we find that Moshe Rabbeinu has a big problem. As Yitro, his father-in-law, points out, Navoltibo, you're going to wither away. Why? Because he's doing everything by himself. What is he doing? He gives the laws, and everyone has to come to him. If they don't come to Moshe, they can't adjudicate the cases. There can be no one else. Only Moshe Rabbeinu. It was wonderful. Everyone got a chance to go to the Supreme Court, but Yitro said, "This is ridiculous. It'll never work. You can't adjudicate cases all day." He told him to have lower courts as well. Good. It's interesting to note that this idea that there would be the higher courts, then there would be Moshe for the lower courts, and then there would be the people would be at the bottom, and the Moshe would be the lower courts would be in the middle, and then Moshe would be at the top. This idea is similar to what happens at Mount Sinai. After Yitro goes away, or after Yitro comes, the Torah sets up Sinai in a similar fashion. The people hear as God is speaking to Moshe. Moshe speaks and everyone hears. So we have this same hierarchy. You have Moshe as the highest judge. The people can go to the intermediaries, the Zakanim, the elders, and then there are the people at the bottom. So too at Mount Sinai, they have the people at the bottom. You have the elders go up a little bit higher, and then the Moshe Rabbeinu is at the top. There is this intermediary kind of a thing. Now, on the one hand, before Yitro came to the scene, the people had direct access to Moshe. So there was God, there was Moshe, and there was the Jewish people, and everyone had direct access to Moshe, and all you had to do was get an appointment. After Yitro, you had indirect access. You would have access to the lower courts, and then if you needed it, you could go to the higher courts. At after Moshe, it was more indirect. At Mount Sinai, there was a notion that the Jews would hear directly from God, but then somehow it morphed into the notion because of their fear that the Jews would hear Moshe would say it, and Moshe would hear, he would say it to the Jews. The rabbis have this notion that, well, the first two dibros are in the singular, so the first two dibros came from directly from God. They went directly from God to the people, whereas the other dibrot were passed through Moshe and only then to the people. Rav Tamir Granot in Israel recently visited here in Memphis. He says as follows. He asked the question, he says, why is it that if you look in all of Shemot, everything we saw until now, Parshat Shemot, Parshat the burning bush, Parshat Eira, the four languages of redemption, the Exodus from Egypt with the story of the Pesach, nowhere did it say, and now we'll get the Ten Commandments. It said you'll worship God in this mountain. If you will bring some sacrifices at Mount Sinai. Nowhere did it tell us we're going to get laws. Why? Because maybe the idea was we'd have direct access. You have direct access. If you have a problem, you have a question, you have a holiday comes up, Moshe will tell you what to do. You'll have direct response from Moshe Rabbeinu. Comes God and says, look, let's pretend that we're just going to be directly related to God. God is going to tell us what to do. But in the end, we can't do it that way. Like Jethro said, it's not going to work. And God himself says that's not going to work. You have to have actual laws. And it's true that then you don't need to go to God every minute. If you already know what the law is in this case, in that case, the other case, you don't need to go to God every minute. But so there's less contact with God. But on the other hand, ironically, once you have written Torah, everyone has access to those laws in a way you don't need Moshe. On the one hand, it's nice to have Moshe. It's nice to have the connection with this great Moshe. On the other hand, it's nice to have direct access with the laws themselves. So in the original version of it, perhaps the people would have direct access to God, or Moshe would at least would have direct access for every law, every question, every scenario. But in the final case, final analysis, we have the Torah. So every Jew also has the Torah, and that we have access to what the actual law should be. What the Torah is saying here is that, on the one hand, it should be like the story of the Korban Pesach, Pesach Sheni. What happened? The Jews said, "Hey, we didn't get to bring the Pesach. We were impure. We were far away. What should we do?" So God says, "Hold on one second. Let me find it." Moshe says, "Let me find out." It's God. There's a question. God says, "Oh, tell them that if we'll have a Pesach Sheni, you'll have a makeup for the Passover service. We'll have a makeup in the next month." There was another question. The daughters of Slavchad had a question. What should we do? Moshe says, "I don't know. What should we do?" So he brings a mishpat to Hashem, and Hashem says, "Oh, you're right. Girls, if there's no boys, the family, the girls should get an inheritance." Ideally, that would be sort of the way we would do it. We would people would bring their cases directly to Moshe. Would bring the case directly to God. However, by getting a Torah, on the one hand, we no longer are able to get an appointment with God for every single shayla, every single question that we have. On the other hand, we do have an appointment with God because everyone has direct access to the Torah. We don't have to go to Moshe Rabbeinu. We have access to Moshe Rabbeinu right now. We can look in the Torah. We can look in Chazal. We can look at the Talmud, and we can find out the answer to the question right now. Of course, you need guidance. You need rabbis. It takes a lot of learning to know what the right answer is. But more or less, we learned people, the rabbis, and to some extent, every Jew can access the Torah. So, which one is it? What's the ideal thing? That to have direct access to that the Torah should sort of flow out of every situation, that we should go directly to God for every single thing? Maybe in some theoretical sense that would be nice. But in the end, we do go through Moshe Rabbeinu, go through the Torah, and it comes through Moshe. But in the end, we do have access. And every Jew should realize that what an amazing thing, what an incredible blessing we have, that we have direct access to the Word of God. We don't have to ask Moshe, what's the answer in this quiz? We can figure it out ourselves. We, the guidance of rabbis of the Talmud, rabbis of the Shulchan Aruch, the rabbis of the Achronim, and all the rabbis of our own times, we can get to the answer. We have direct access to the Word of God. God has democratized the process. He's brought the Torah down to everybody. So when we got the Torah at Mount Sinai, He gave it to us. He gave us the Torah, and we now have access to all this wonderful, the Word of God. Yitro started this idea, as Rav Gernot pointed out, that Moshe can't have all the laws all by himself. You have to give access to everyone else. But in the end, God agrees with Moshe, agrees with Yitro, that the people need to have the laws. And that's what happened at Mount Sinai. We got the Torah. And now that we've got it, we don't even need Moshe Rabbeinu. We have the Torah through Moshe Rabbeinu, of course, but we have access to the Torah. All we have to do is open up the Sfarim, open up the books, and see what they have to say. And hopefully we'll learn an important lesson, and we'll learn directly from God, who is the Nosei Torah, God who is Amalamed Torah L'Mo Yisrael. God is the teacher of the Jewish people. He teaches us and he guides us directly, every single Jew, every single day. Thank you for joining us here at the Baron Hirsch Congregation. Join us each week for a discussion of the Parsha and the holidays. And thanks to Maurice Buring for sponsoring in memory of his parents, Jacob and Ruth Buring. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.